I actually get to talk about this. In light of recent events, a lot of disclosures have been released to the public on the presence of aliens, extraterrestrials.
The Pentagon has declassified 3 videos taken by US Navy pilots that showed unidentified flying objects. The videos have been leaked in the past, but the US government has now confirmed they are genuine.
And so, on my channel, I want to start talking about the many experiences that I've had with extraterrestrials because I believe that it's safe to do so. I'm not going to be seen as that crazy person anymore because this has been happening to me for years. You know, alongside the astral projections, I've been steadily giving you information that I've felt has been safe to discuss, you know, without any of the ridicule or any of the negative feedback that I could be getting if, for example, I talked about the experience I had with the tall white. Now, some of you have heard about that story already on my YouTube channel within a previous live stream. Keep an eye out on my channel for the next couple of days because I will be making a video just like this one on that encounter. This video, however, is on my experiences with the Galactic Federation of Light because I used to work for them. Wow, I actually said that out loud. I'm getting goosebumps. Okay, so you'll get back to the video in a second. I just want to mention one thing that I'm going to be doing within the upcoming week. In 4 days from the moment that I posted this video, I'll be hosting a live webinar. It's a manifestation webinar where I'll be teaching a 7-day program on manifestation. So if you're interested, I'll put the short link in the description below. Register and I'll see you there. Yeah, it's true. It's true. I used to work for them. Unconsciously though. Unconsciously. And that's going to make more sense in a second. But first, I want to discuss who they are. The Galactic Federation of Light are a group of extraterrestrial beings that survey and interact with individuals on Earth. Their primary mode of function is to abduct you in the middle of your sleep, take you to their ship, and then to interrogate you. Nicely though, gently. But they manage to get you on board through hypnosis and specific strategic tactics. My story is that ever since I was a child, I was taken from my room and I was put in front of a group of extraterrestrials and interrogated for years, right, for a very long time. And the way that these abductions would generally happen is that I'd be sleeping, and in the middle of the night, oftentimes the early hours of the morning, so you're looking at 1 to 2 o'clock in the AM, the air in the room would start to feel very thick, very vibratory, and I would feel a presence enter into the room, but before I could see the presence, I would start to get afraid. You know, I'd start to get this PTSD type of sense about me. And on numerous occasions, I would start to see things bleeding through my wall. Now, the things that I would see would, depending on the day, oftentimes resemble cartoons that I just watched on TV. They would oftentimes resemble things that would make me afraid, you know, blackout afraid actually, to the point where I would get so scared in my small body that I would pass out. And every tactic was used to get me out of bed in a way which would benefit them. I later realized that the reason as to why they had this ability was because certain members of the Galactic Federation of Light had psychic abilities. They could project thoughts into my head. They could even project holograms, images into my space. And a lot of the times, you know, I thought it was real. However, I did have a sneaky suspicion because behind the scenes, I did feel as if something was toying with me. A lot of memories were suppressed due to their methods of suppressing these visitations. I remember this one guy would show up in his astral form and just say to me constantly that this didn't happen. You're sleeping, you know. He would tell me stories about the previous day to keep me focused on the past, to keep me grounded in those moments as opposed to what was actually happening within the present moment. Not all of it was unpleasant though. Specific individuals of the Galactic Federation of Light had their own unique way of leading me out of my room. For example, the one that I was most fond of was this woman, and she was made out of light, like pink light, and you would see every now and then different features of her face through her haze, her aura-like substance. And she was very motherly, You could tell that she was quite old. And she was not only made out of pink light, but she was also comprised of silver and blue rays. Her way was great because she would come into the room and she would feel my nervousness. She would come over and she would touch my shoulder or any part of my body in order to calm me down. And I could feel a huge rush of empathic energy come into my being and calm me down. Before I exited the room, it was mandatory that I be put into an altered state of mind. Right? From there on, that's where the hypnosis started. And so this etheric being would take me out of my bed and I would get close to the curtains and the radiator. Right now, after this window, there is nothing there. And I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of my memory is still not okay. I still don't quite know what the heck is happening during those times. But I can explain it to you the best way that I know how. When I got close to the curtains, everything around me started to go black. I started to feel less solid, and I honestly felt my body pass through the window and the wall. I knew that I was supposed to fall if I took a step, because I knew that I just passed through my wall. But in a moment, I was no longer outside my house. The whole environment changed, and I ended up walking through a silver hallway. Now, the hallway didn't look all alien, right? It didn't look like you had just entered into a spaceship. It looked like the hallway to a building, in a hospital, for example. A very decent-sized hallway, pretty wide. Many rooms that people have are as wide as this hallway, so you can fit a decent amount of people, maybe 30 people across this hallway. There were ornaments, chairs along the side of the hallway, and a room towards the end. Where the door was leading into the room, there were glass windows, so you were easily able to see into the room. When I entered into the room, there was a silver oblong-shaped desk and a whiteboard. And I would walk around the room, around the many beings that were there. I'll describe what they look like in a second. And I would stand in front of the whiteboard. Every time, the empathic being would stand next to me, and she would keep me in check. Okay, so her energy field would basically calm me down, like some type of drug. And so, being put into the altered state before I left the room to forget everything that transpires after leaving my room, along with this emotional, comforting energy, I am fully in sleeper agent mode. Okay? They set the groundwork for me to basically enter into a different persona. One where I'd forget this life and I'd remember that one. Okay, I'd remember where we last left off with our meetings and a lot of the things that I was told to do upon returning back to my room. And so whilst I was standing there, they would activate me with specific words, with specific phrases. And then we would pick up where we last left off. One of the conversations that stand out the most to me was when they asked me about the state of human consciousness, the behavioral state of humans on Earth. And I specifically remember the reptilian dinosaur-like looking guy looking at me and being like, scruffing, like, send him back to his room, send him back to his house. We don't need to interrogate him anymore. He's useless. Humans are useless. They're not worth our time. Let's just go straight to plan B. But everyone else on the table was against his suggestion, which was settling, to say the least. There was this bald guy, which was always sat to the right of him, and he wore silver clothes. His collar was really big, right? It was very broad here, but you can tell that he was skinny underneath. You could tell that he had a really thin neck. Now, he looked human, but he had very big eyes, right? They were white, and you could see the iris, but the iris was silver too, and he was completely bald. If you had seen him on the street, you'd probably think that he was just not quite right physically, But he could pass as human depending on what he was wearing. He was strictly telepathic. Everyone could hear him, and he would have a slight smile on his face. Kind of like this. We had a shadow being that would come in from time to time. He literally came in from the etheric plane and would just sit there. 2 angelic twins. They would be very thin and dangly. They definitely weren't from this Earth, probably not even from this universe. They reminded me of jellyfish, only if jellyfish could walk. If you could imagine those aliens out of Men in Black, the really thin ones, the "Hey, Cowabunga" beings.
So, you guys seen the Wangas?
Sure you don't want some coffee?
They closely resemble what these light beings look like if you were to smash them together with luminescent jellyfish. Everyone else that was around the table would come and go as they pleased, but everyone else that I just mentioned had to be there. It was absolutely mandatory. It wasn't until I started astral projecting that I started to loosen a lot of the shackles on my mind around my memory. I started to develop the ability to maintain my awareness outside of my body. Now, the reason as to why this relates with being abducted by aliens is because if you're able to maintain your awareness outside of your body, you as an individual have become exceptionally good at maintaining a level of awareness that is uncommon to the unconscious collective. Okay, the unconscious collective. The physical body is so low in vibration that it's very hard to stay aware. We just want to sleep all the time because our body's constantly doing things to repair, to rest, to deal with our mental states, and so forth. So we don't often spend time in a very lucid, awake state because we're just so bogged down all the time. Not only that, but most of us want to go to sleep anyway. We don't want to deal with the day. From trauma to a low vibrational body, your level of awareness goes like this. But if you can leave the physical body, your level of awareness goes like this because you're no longer in that rock, that thing that's bringing your awareness down. And so when you come back, something incredible happens. Your physical body has to change to match the suitor, to match the occupier of the body. There was this one time in particular where they came to visit me, and as soon as they entered the room, I started to recall so many similar experiences. It was insane. Enough to the point where I was able to brace myself and play a role, okay, play stupid. And so as I was walking towards my window, I was like, okay, let's just keep doing what I've always been doing. But one of them, the guy that would constantly feed me suggestions, he caught on. I could tell he was catching on. I could tell that he knew that I was aware of what was happening. And despite his best efforts to keep feeding me info, it just wasn't working and I wasn't reacting the same way, which was just more of a red flag that I had become awake. I get onto their ship and I am nervous. I am so nervous. It's obvious that I know what's going on at this point, and people in the room start to have their own conversations subconsciously. You know what I mean? As soon as I left, I could tell that they knew what was up. And I had one other experience after that, but then that was it. As I'm talking about this on camera, numerous things keep coming up still. More experiences. There's just so much to unpack. The last time I spoke to them was in 2014. Okay, so it's been 6 years. If I remember anything else, I'll be sure to make a new video on this topic. Okay, so subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos like this one. And if you're interested in astral projecting, I do have a mastery course that I built over the course of 4 years, available over on my website, ryancropper.com. So subscribe, check it out, and I'll speak to you all pretty soon. Peace.
In the language of the US Department of Defense, these are unidentified aerial phenomena. Videos which add fuel to the belief of some that we are not alone.
That's them, is it? I do on us, dude. Well, if there's anything